stories? Like, what are the places you go to again and again and again to find new stories you can share with your audiences?
It's for me.
Yes.
So one of the things I do, like Chad was saying kind of, is I email every single person in my organization to ask them about what the most memorable moment to 3 moments of the year were for them. That means that they're doing the work for me, plus they're there on the ground in the communities, like a lot of the people who work with our members, and I'm not. I'm definitely in the head office, so I get some of those stories, but that's kind of my easiest one, I think, because it covers everything for me. It covers like the whole province. And then I'm always looking for stories at events. So I look at people's interactions. I totally like creepily spy at people and see what they're doing. I also, on Facebook, because we have quite a big social media following, I look at the conversations between people. And I definitely dig through those.
Mine quotes out of those?
I mine quotes and I mine kind of things that are happening. So feelings, if someone's feeling happy about something or frustrated about something, and maybe we can solve that problem and then turn it into a story. It's really good, I think, to get in at the beginning of when you're solving a problem too, because then you're actually there documenting the entire story. So if you see something that can be solved, then get in there, I guess.
I also have one.
Yeah.
I used to be the communications department for a nonprofit, and newsletters were my starting point in many cases. Because as much as your newsletter recipients love you, most of them have not read your newsletters. So you can use the same stories. You may want to change the wording just so it's not blatantly obvious, but yeah, if it was prominent enough to go out in your monthly newsletter, however frequently, then yeah, it can go in your year in review.
So I have an annual survey that goes out to my 50,000 Net2van members. And one of my questions every year is like, how did we help you this year? And of course, 90% of people leave that field totally blank. But every year I'm sourcing really fascinating stories, which then I basically just like say like cut and paste, go back to that person and say like, hey, do I have your approval? Can you give me a nice photo of you or some of the work you're doing? And then I just slap that little quote on a photo, boom, report.
Nice. I've also had luck going back through my Outlook calendar and like what are the things I had meetings about the past year that have been communicated about, and sometimes there's stories there. Random.
Can I add something as well?
Yeah,
to myself?
please do.
If we have a great event or something that went fabulously well, if I have the time for it, which I always wish I did, and I feel like I would save myself a lot of time in the future, I would pick up the phone and call the participants and just record, like all your phones have a recording device on it, have a super quick chat, record the conversation, and then you've got a story basically that's built. So tell them you're recording.
Okay. Waiting for that line. Any questions from the audience? Great. Michelle? Yeah.
If there's any, like, what other uses for annual reports in terms of, like, grants or applying for things, and are there any, like, actual regulatory requirements for reports?
We send them to grantors all the time. Like I probably get an email like once every week and a half from the person that does grants in our office asking me where the annual report is. So yeah, I would say we use them for reporting. As for regulatory things,
I think if you're a registered charity, you're required to publish your financial statement. I'm not an expert on this. Yeah. I work for a grant maker, so we're required by legislation to publish an annual report. That's specific legislation for us.
Yeah, I think when it's something that is pretty and beautiful and well designed, then it becomes like part of your marketing, whether it's out to donors or meeting something you guys show and kind of tells the story, right? When it's many pages of text, it's a little harder to do that, right? So I mean, I really like mine. It's like highly visual. I mean, it looks like an infographic, but like an interactive piece, right? It becomes a weapon and engagement to sort of bring people in as opposed to like paperweight.
the other thing is is like recycling. So if I pull apart my annual report, like say I have this beautiful graph in it, I'll just screenshot that or save that one bit, and suddenly it's like a Twitter post or a Facebook post, and it's just that one piece of information. And in your annual report, you have like 100 of those, so you're set for like X amount of days. much time doing them, and I'm really happy with how they turn out, so I make sure people read them. Like I fully, for our events, I print the postcards. I like send out an email that's like an invite through paperless post to view our annual report. You're invited. And then I like approach every single person and I'm like, did you see this? And yes, I would say that whether by wanting to or by fear, they do end up reading it. And yeah, we basically like take every opportunity to send them out. I'll squeeze it into our newsletters for our members. Like I'll put it on the slider of our website. Like everywhere I can put it, I put it. But that's because also like probably like you, I know it's good work and that people are going to enjoy it, and they just think they're not.
One of the advantages of going online with an annual report as well is you can track what people click on, so you can see what they're interested in. You can use that information to help shape the future. Yeah, that as well. But you won't be able to tell you what they did with it.
I actually I did send it out through paperless post last year, which I don't know if you guys use that, but it's a do you know?
No.
We use it all the time, so it's an e-invite platform, but you can send out like invites to events or like invites to click this PDF or things like that. It tracks it also the same way as any email thing does, and it allows people to reply back to you. So I sent out the annual report and I got actually quite a few replies, and this was to members, so it's not who we're expecting to be reading them, but a lot of nice comments being like, great job, this totally captures what we did. Some comments that are like, where are the photos of me? But yeah, I think like the feedback on it was really rewarding to see that people were reading it.
What software did you use for your online annual?
WordPress. It's a WordPress website. Yeah.
And did you spend 7 years of dedicated work to
I
make that happen?
did.
Because I suspected as much.
No, I basically like locked myself up for 2 weeks and worked solely on this project, but that's because it was like it had 26 letters of the alphabet, that one. There's ways to make it super simple, and yeah, like there's a lot of free online like WordPress tools or other web design tools now that you can easily make work for you, I think. And maybe someone has a better suggestion.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of any tools I've come across that are coding free or super light coding. And I don't know of any, but at the end of my presentation when I had those resources, the timeline one and the other one, the map one, those are sort of like a tiny snippet of what something like yours would look like. So if you imagine a web page on your website, whatever your websites look like, you could put in a plugin in one of those tools. So plug in a timeline, for example, an interactive timeline. You don't have to code something new and fancy. You just kind of plug it in, just like you're sharing a YouTube video. And then you could have text underneath and download our PDF report. So you're sort of almost like a hybrid approach. So you're spicing things up with a little interactivity, but you don't have to lock yourself in.
I think also, the template we use for that one, I think, is the Divi template, which is a paid one, but it's quite user-friendly. Like, it does work in the way that Wix or Squarespace do, where it's very visual. You can drag and drop, and depending on how it's not like you're writing code in the back end anymore. So.
For hard copies, can you suggest free templates or low cost?
You mentioned that Canva.com. That's a great resource. You can do infographics. I made a magazine one time, and it's completely free.
Yeah, Canva's a good option. Crello, Crello, is also one that I like. Yeah, they can be a little hit and miss, and there's certainly advantages and disadvantages to using those just because of the output that they provide. There's also, if you're willing to learn a little bit of a new software, there are free alternatives to Adobe products. that exist out there. They do have a bit of a learning curve, but you know, can do more powerful or outside the template type thing.
Eli, if you're a registered nonprofit and you want to get Adobe Suite software, where can you go?
I encourage people to spend as little money as they should, but sometimes you need particular tools. Perhaps QuickBooks is the right thing because you're not going to train up your finance team on a brand new tool. Perhaps you got someone who's really has all the skills already in Adobe. Yeah, you go to TechSoup Canada, create a free account if you're a nonprofit charity or church or library. And from there, you're usually going to find discounts on software, everything from totally free for like the Google Suite services, down to I think you're getting about, I don't even know what the discount is, but get a discount on QuickBooks, and I believe it's more like a 30% discount these days with the Adobe Creative Suite, maybe 40, something in there. So if you're spending full price on those pieces of software, you shouldn't because we want to save you money.
One more question.
My question is basically, how do you manage resources, especially time, for creating annual reports? I work for a small nonprofit, 3 full-timers, 8 part-timers. We could definitely benefit from better reporting, but most of the staff are super overextended. So how would you make quality reporting happen in that environment?
I mean, my trick was to capture it as it happens, because you think you're going to remember, you're not going to remember. I mean, sometimes I look back at the calendar and like, what did I do? Oh yeah, I was there. I totally forgot about that, right?
Yeah. Are you looking for numbers or stories specifically in this case?
Everything. we are just concentrating on surviving day to day, but one of our primary goals is definitely to seek more donors, and we keep bumping up against the same wall, which is we need data, we need statistics, we need colorful photos, we need stories, but no one person is doing that. Everyone has their job to do something else. So either someone steps up, or we take it piecemeal, or maybe you have some suggestions.
So when I was grabbing, like, we've done like, I think 75 of these newsletters now with this project. It's got like 1,000 subscribers. They're all like these personal stories from Chad. Chad's written maybe about 4 of them. What I did was I've been able to access summer jobs funding, which is open right now, and then other youth sort of skilled internship stuff. And then I go to the local universities and I find the kids that are working for their peak newspaper or whatever the UBC student paper is, and I steal one of their editors, give them a summer job. I usually top up their wage a little bit so I get the better one. And then I just basically sit down and like, come sit with me for 10 minutes. I'm gonna like brain dump the stuff on you. I'm gonna get this guy's name and phone number. Let me see it before you put send. So you get these nice little like well-written stories from someone whose job that is. Most of their wages covered through government dollars. And like they're a writer. For them, they're like, they're getting some real world experience and stuff. The problem with that model is they end up getting really good at it and they go get better jobs down the road. But there's like, the next second or third year sports editor for your local university paper. But don't take them because he's my next hire. But that's been my project. There's lots of sort of, government, Trudeau is also the Minister of Youth. There's also youth skilled work sort of internship stuff, which might not cover all the salary, but a good chunk of it. And they take a lot of that work off my plate. So it's not me worrying about, I got this thing. I just tell Priyanka, like, this is the event we did. This is the person I want you to talk to. Here's their phone number. Let me see it before you click send.
I usually try to stack everything on the same day because I'm the same as you. Like my department was this week until I got someone else. But so yeah, I know that we have 2 big events where things like look beautiful, the lighting is great, it's outdoors and it's in the summer. And I will try to get everything I need for this report. So our annual report comes out in October, which means the summer months are when I'm working towards it at last minute. And yeah, so I line up, like I shoot video, I shoot photos, I record quotes or pull them from videos. And usually I find that like one day of really focusing on that gets me everything I would need for the year. Like I don't even end up using all of it. And if I find like a great photo from that day, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be good. You can just shoot them a quick email and be like, hey, can you tell me how doing this made you feel? Or like something like that, a leading question. that gives you the answer you need.
Yeah. I'm in favor of leading questions.
I also was in a very similar situation where communications was just like a small fraction of my job, and then everyone else on the team and I did a bunch of other things. So it was sort of a semi-afterthought. So in those cases, I would ask my colleagues for, I need 2 or 3 stats from each of you, and you can either write me a paragraph, or we can sit down for 5 to 10 minutes, and you can just like tell me about what this project looked like this year. And then I would write a draft, and because I'm slightly manipulative, I would write it wrong. I would intentionally put an error in the first sentence, because they would open their email, they'd read it and be like, oh, this is incorrect. And people, it's easier to edit something that's already written, first of all, rather than originating material. So they would see something that they only need to edit, and something is about to go to print. Big mistake. So they would immediately revise it and send it back to me.
I think accountability though is really key, and also kind of managing as you go along. But I know it's a tough conversation, especially when everybody's busy. But when you sit down and you know that a bunch of things need to happen, if you sit down and make somebody accountable for that action, it does really force everybody to work together.
So speaking of accountability, I'm kind of curious about, you've been introducing these dashboards into these organizations. What's the feedback from that now that people get more real-time information as opposed to getting something at the end of the year as, like, say, a board member?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, one of the big things that we found is, again, having all that information right in front of you, you can understand better how that money is going, whether it's, okay, we need to get more money, or we need to start spending this money more efficiently, or there's a big event happening over here, but we don't have funds for that. So you can really, push the initiatives more, and you have basically a better understanding of what you need to do in order to be successful.
So we put a bit of a fire underneath your board members to get out there and start making some introductions.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, last call for questions. Oh, one last one. Okay.
So Martha,
Okay.
tomorrow.
Michelle and I work together.
So you want to do an online annual report. You know it's going to take a while, and this is something you definitely want to do. How do you convince your executive director that this is something that is absolutely essential?
Speaking of leading questions,
Oh, wow. That's true, actually. People don't want to put resources towards the online one, for sure. But we did it 3 years, and the first year was a real struggle to convince our director that we needed it. I had pulled all kinds of fancy online annual reports from for-profit organizations, so like MailChimp was a great one that I love, and I was like, we could do this, it would tell our stories so well. And in the end, I don't know if there's a way, you know what, you convince by doing it. Because what I did the first year was I put in overtime hours and just did it. And then once he saw how great it was, he's like, okay, we'll do that in the years to come. I guess I would say is the answer.
I guess just the difference between doing a text-heavy document and then making it look beautiful.
Yes, I think that's correct, Michelle. Yeah, totally, you're right. Like, that's where all our beautiful photos from the year get to live, is online. Not so much, well, in the print one too, but really, so many of them get to live online.
One more question.
I would expect that an advantage of doing that is most of the time once you have your base template for it, it's going to be easier going forward. If you're buying again, you may update the style a little bit, and so I yeah, all the time to question, is this really how I should be doing this? But it seems like too much work to do it online, especially if you're not going to call it this year, you do it now. So, push for it.